Thank you very much for joining this webinar. And it was a pleasure to have Maxwell all the way from England joining and talking about how you prepare yourself with the performance ready of the speakers, how you can overcome the fear. Okay, just to introduction that Maxwell is a professional speaker, coach, and he is helping companies, people at large for different organizations. And one of his best topic I used to love, that how you overcome the fear beside the 3 stories. I just love it, and we feel that it's very helpful for some guidance from the professional speaker to have him on board. So I would welcome Maxwell, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nasheed. Thank you, Aisha. Good morning, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to be here, all the way from Scotland, and we have a very cold, windy Scottish day here today. Performance Ready Speakers. The reason I chose that name is because I'm fascinated by our emotions, particularly in public speaking, and how our emotions affect us when we're speaking and when pressure starts to build, and the pressures that we create inside of ourselves. That's really a fascinating topic for me. So what I would like to do is, through my own path as a speaker, through conversations and interviews I have had with other speakers, especially aspiring speakers, people who are beginning their path in speaking, is to focus on how to present and speak with confidence. Because confidence, it's a word that has many levels of meaning, and it's something that's really particular fascination to me. So I'm just going to close my window here. What you practice, you become, and try and keep that into your minds all the time. It's a mantra that I've kept close to my heart since day one. Now, if you look at the 2 pictures on the slide, this was April 2017 in London, and I was attending an event that had 50 aspiring speakers on the course. On the first day, they picked a handful of us to speak for the very next day. So we had 1 day and 1 night to prepare. We would only be speaking for a few minutes. I thought that there might be a possibility I would be one of those picked, and it turned out I was. So after that day had ended, we all went off to the hotel lounge for a social gathering. Once there, the attitudes towards the next day were very, very different. Some people had a carefree attitude. It's only a couple of minutes, they said. It's no big deal. After a couple of drinks, I politely excused myself, and I made my way back to my hotel for an early night. Not to sleep, but to prepare. I spent most of that night in preparation for my talk, well into the early hours. I got up early in the morning to refine what I'd been working on, and I turned up the next day a full 1 hour before the event started, just to familiarize myself with the room. There was a very different atmosphere in the room that morning compared to the day before. You could tell some people were very nervous. We were all nervous, but you could tell which people hadn't prepared. One speaker got up and took the floor. Not 30 seconds had passed before they handed back the microphone and they made the long walk back to their seat. And what they were feeling in that time was the very powerful effects of being unprepared. My topic was it's something I knew a little about. It was about stress and pressure. So I was confident in my preparation. I was nervous, yes. I was inexperienced, but I took the floor and I delivered confidently because I knew what I wanted to say and it all flowed in a nice, natural fashion. I was performance ready. See, speaking is a performance and we should prepare as such. Those 3 minutes were the longest 3 minutes of that other person's life. So whether you're preparing for 30 seconds, 1 minute, 3 minutes, or you're delivering a keynote for 45 minutes, we should still prepare at the same level. If you want to be a speaker and you want to use speaking in your business, you should make the firm resolve within yourself to be that speaker and to prepare like one. Those who invest in public speaking and who are able to master their emotions during performance have a great advantage over others in their field. And I believe that advantage is confidence through proficient preparation. So over the next hour, I'm going to share with you the skills that I have learned in presenting and speaking with confidence from the platform. My background, when I started to take my speaking seriously, I spoke for a few years, but not very well. I wasn't a good speaker. I had no structure. I just delivered lots of information. I had no voice control, nor did I know how to use a stage. So I joined Toastmasters International Organization, and I also joined the Professional Speaking Association. I am still a member of both organizations, but I always take the opportunity to speak wherever I can in life. I believe that the greatest and most successful business professionals in the world are also great speakers. They found value in and they recognize that professional speaking has been a vital part of their success. And they've dedicated themselves to learning the craft so that they leave memorable impressions in their audience long after they've left the stage. The skills of effective speaking and communication are critical to business success, but it also positions those who master them with that vital edge. My purpose, I've learned my purpose through speaking because I'm fascinated with how people manage their emotions. My purpose is to instill the self-belief in people that they can be the speaker they aspire to be and impart the skills for them to achieve that. Oprah Winfrey, Steve Jobs, and the Queen. Great speakers aren't born, they're made. I used to think, my former thinking was that these speakers were gifted people, that they were just naturals who graced the stage with their presence. But when I started looking into developing my speaking skills and practicing, I learned that these speakers were also once beginners. They had their own fears. They delivered flat, stiff, and monotone presentations. I also learned, though, that it is a skill that anyone can develop, and everyone can bring their own unique gifts and talks to their presentations. I learned that great speakers aren't born, they're built and developed. And I'm here to help you build and inspire you to build and develop winning presentations where you can exude that confidence on the platform. 3 great questions that you should ask yourself. What makes a great speaker? What is the purpose of speaking? And what holds you back? First of all, I think what makes a great speaker, to begin with, is mentorship and training. These pictures are two of my mentors, and I have had mentorship from many different speakers. There's lots of learnings to take place. But ultimately, what makes a great speaker is their ability to captivate an audience, to hold an audience, to inspire change in their thinking. They also have great presence. And presence is a word that you'll come to know very well. They communicate well. They have excellent communication skills. They're audience focused, and they're able to use the most primary tool they have to great effect, and that tool is their voice. The way they use their words, the way they express those words, through their body language, through their movement, how they use the stage. These are all great skills that go towards making a great speaker. But there's another element. They also handle their nerves very well. They are able to manage their emotions in the right way. And we'll be delving deeper into that as we go on. What is the purpose of speaking? Speaking must have a purpose. From a business perspective, it gives you the tools to be able to influence, to be able to persuade, to promote your business. But primarily, what I've learned through my training is that the purpose of speaking is to transfer emotions. What do you want your audience to think, feel, and do? What do you want them to act upon? Speaking skills are very necessary for business, and they also give you that vital edge against other competitors in your field. The bottom question at first might not seem that important. We may not know what holds us back until we get deeper challenges. I think speaking is also about understanding our level. There's nothing wrong with being a beginner. There's nothing wrong with being a new speaker and learning new skills. There's nothing wrong with not being able to deliver the perfect pitch or speech. So understanding our level is very important. Also, we need that forward-thinking mindset. I often talk about as being a sponge. Absorb everything you can. You will absorb what is useful, what matters to you most, and you will use that in your speaking. Think of building skills all the time. Don't focus on what you're not doing correctly or how you're going to look and what you're doing wrong. If you're forward thinking, you're going to overcome your fears. But as far as performance goes, when we think about what holds us back, there's a huge difference in knowing what to do and being able to apply it under pressure. Pressure changes everything. That's why most of my training focuses on your mental game. It's so, so important. Yes, of course, you've got to rehearse and practice frequently, but you also need the mental skills to deliver under pressure when performance really matters. I used to be extremely nervous starting out, and I would lose, I would forget my way, I didn't handle my emotions effectively. That's when you start to experience victory, your victory on the platform. So performance is about big game mentality. That's what we call it in sports. But the greatest stumbling block to your progress and to what holds you back comes in the form of false and limiting beliefs. Now, I've made an exhaustive list over the last few weeks of limiting beliefs through aspiring speakers and some limiting beliefs that I had myself, but they're so important. What do you tell yourself? Perhaps you've watched a well-seasoned speaker and you've thought, I could never be that good. Have you thought that? Or do you think that? Maybe your fear is, what if I forget my lines? I've certainly been there with that. Or perhaps you hate the sound of your own voice. I think almost everyone that I've ever spoken to have hated the sound of their own voice. That's why people hate to film themselves, they hate to record themselves, they hate to play it back. These are limiting beliefs. These are what stops us moving forward. But ultimately, if we don't think we're that good, if we hate the way we sound, if we hate the way we look, if we are completely focused on what others are going to think of us, all of those fears can be encompassed under one major fear. And that is fear of humiliation. No one wants to be humiliated. No one wants to experience the forgetting their lines on stage and the embarrassment and everything else that that can cause. But this is the main fear for aspiring speakers. And this usually comes from not managing our emotions effectively. So the way I get round that, when I was starting out, when I really started to focus on my emotions and how I felt starting out speaking and speaking more often, is ask yourself, what will confidence do for you? Because it's the quality that's going to make the most influence over your success. The way you think about yourself affects how you promote you and your business. Clients buy through having confidence in you. So keep in mind your ideal image of you and focus on that. As I say, there's nothing wrong with being new and learning skills. In the beginning, we're not going to give good presentations. In the beginning, it's about courage. It's about stepping up. It's about facing your fears. It's about learning to calm yourself under pressure. And as long as you have that forward-thinking mindset and you have a good mentor who's giving you a good qualified feedback, you will grow. The speaker state. When we talk about performance, this is something that I really like to delve into. And you might want to ask yourself, what is your current state? Patsy Rodenberg, she coaches actors and actresses. She talks about the 3 circles of acting. And one of my mentors, Steve Lowell, world-renowned speaker, he adapted this and he talks about the 3 circles of speaking. But ultimately, these 3 circles are different states. So the states have major differences. When you're a beginner, this is the first state. It's more of a self-conscious phase. You're driven by your inner thoughts and emotions. You have that inner dialogue going on, that voice saying all sorts of things to you, but you're focused on how you sound, how you look, how you performed, what people thought of you. So that's the first stage. It's a very self-conscious place to be, and it's naturally the place where we start to speak. The third state is when we start to gain a little experience and we start to get a little more confident. So we have this outward confidence, but it's not real confidence. It can be loud and overconfident. You bring all this energy to the stage. You deliver your talk or presentation with all this energy. It's supercharged, and it can also be very tiring and consuming for your audience. The second state, which lies in between the 2 of them, this is the calm state. This is the conversational. This is where you're focused on the message for your audience. This is where you're comfortable in your own skin. This is where you're charismatic and your audience centered. Often, the journey I'm at the moment, I'm drifting between the third and the second state. because sometimes you do want to bring extra charge into your talks, and that's all very well. So when you can blend it between these two and you leave the first state, the self-conscious state, that's when you know you're really growing as a speaker. But it's really important to understand what level you're at. There's no shame in any levels at all. Being new is about growing, and just be focused and happy that you are growing and that you are focused on growing certain skills within your skill set. Speaking's also about positioning. This photo here was taken in Canada 1 year ago, and I had the privilege of sharing the floor with these speakers. The event was over 3 days, and we all supported each other, where ultimately, on the third day, we would be delivering our own presentation. What we had done, we had all come from our first state, and we had jumped up to the next level where we were speaking on an international stage with a professional audience, and we all had our own topics. Some spoke on sales and presentations. Another speaker spoke on the health and fitness industry. One spoke on health and well-being. I speak on overcoming limiting beliefs and fears, performance. So finding your topic and what you want to be known for, that's what starts to position you as an expert. And when you learn good speaking skills, when you get good qualified mentored feedback, that's when you start to deliver your talks in a skillful way. And when you deliver them in a skillful way, that's when it starts to position you as the expert in your field. And that is a practice. So understanding your level is good. So understanding the levels you want to aspire to are also good. And that's where your focus should be. Always going forward, always on performance, and always on growth. That's where the real growth, it really is. So what do you talk about? We're talking about specifics here. What is your area of expertise? What do you want to be known for? Because confidence comes from knowing your topic intimately. Once you know your topic, it frees you up from that first speaker state where you're really self-conscious. Once you know your topic and you can clearly define your message, you're audience focused. You're focused on what you want to give and share to your audience. So drill deep down to find out what your specific area of expertise is in any given area. For example, the health and fitness industry is huge. So if you were speaking on health and fitness, you may focus on nutrition. You may focus on a certain aspect of sports performance, of healthy day-to-day living. Be specific in what you want to talk about. And it comes down to ask yourself, what do I want to be known for? What do I want people to say that is the expert in that area? That's who you should go listen to. Once you understand your topic, we need to know how we're going to present it clearly. When I started giving presentations years ago, they were too long. They had no real structure. My opening was very weak. The body of my talk was just full of information, facts, and data, and the conclusion was very limp. So people would maybe sit for a couple of hours. They would get some good facts. They would take away some pieces of information because it's a topic that really interests them. But I doubt any of them really remembered anything memorable that I said. And when we learn presentation structure, this allows our talk to flow freely. It allows us to have the confidence in what we're going to say next. Powerful openings might start with a fact, a statistic, a story starter, something about yourself or someone you know, or an event that happened. You might start with a famous quote. But ultimately, whatever you open with, you want it to stir some emotion in your audience. That's very important. The body will lead into some personal stories and experiences, perhaps some ideas that you have, or the lessons that you've learned from them. There must be a benefit for the audience. Usually your body, you will focus on 3 clear areas if you're given a full-length keynote. And you will structure that so that it all flows together and just makes your message really, really clear. The conclusion has to be as powerful, if not more powerful, than your opening. Yes, you're going to summarize, but your conclusion's purpose is to prompt people to action. It's to instill memory power in your audience, because the first 30 seconds and the last 30 seconds of your talk are what people are going to remember or forget. If you have a weak opening and a weak conclusion, they will hardly remember anything that you said during the body of your talk. So learning presentation structure, attend as many keynotes as possible or workshops as possible, and practice on your own. You know, practice your talks on your own in the privacy of your own home, and or set up virtual meetings where you can really bounce off each other and get each other's point of view of whether that message resonates with other people. It's a good practice. It's a good weekly practice to get into, and to get into the habit of doing. What is your message? What is the one thing? So if your audience were to forget every single thing you said during a 5-minute talk, a 15-minute talk, or a 45-minute keynote, what would you want them to remember? So refining and being able to explain your message, that's quite important. Always ask yourself that. What is the one thing I would want my audience to remember? Then we start to look at stagecraft, our physical state, our voice, learning how to warm up our voice, our posture, our pace and stage movement. There's lots to talk about here. Moving away from the lectern and using the stage, how we move, how we let our light shine as individuals, because we can become very stiff when we're under the spotlight. Motion relieves tension. So learning to move naturally and use the stage in such a way that you can deliver your message confidently is everything, because your physical state will reveal how you feel. It will come across loud and clear to the audience. They can tell by the way you sound, by the way you stand, by the way you move. And it's about moving freely. It's about being relaxed, being calm in your own shoes, being able to tell a good story. Everyone loves a good story. And one of the common things that most aspiring people say, one of the common points that aspiring speakers will make are they don't know what to talk about, or it's very difficult for them to find a story. But stories are all around us. They're everywhere. One of my trainers taught me the value of having a collection of back pocket stories. Stories happen every single day. Every single day in your life, there is a story. There is a learning, there is a happening that you can draw a lesson from and hear about. It's a great idea to start recording your stories so that you can relay them. But in order to effectively tell a story, you have to practice telling a story. So it's good to map out how you're going to do it. Now, one of the greatest mistakes I ever made as an aspiring speaker is I was starting to learn scripts. And when I moved away from memorizing a script, memorizing lines, it was like freeing myself up from a ball and chain. Our brain memorizes images much more than it does the written word. Now, these are how I prepare for talks. You'll have to excuse the poor quality of drawings. I'm not an artist, but these are how I now prepare for talks. They give me a logical memory sequence where I can remember that the one on the left was just a 5-minute talk on confidence. And I prepared the words and the images that I had in a logical sequence that led straight to the conclusion, and I was able to remember everything I wanted to say in rehearsal very, very quickly. The one on the right-hand side about mental preparedness is more in depth, it's more detailed, and it might look like a mess to the viewer, but it's my mess and it makes complete sense to me. So starting to map out your presentation or your talk with images is a great way to give you memory power, because there's nothing worse. One of our greatest fears is forgetting our lines, and there's nothing worse than trying to memorize a script. And before going to Canada, I was trying to memorize a script, and when I did that, it backfired on me. And I would like to give you a little experience just what happened when it backfired on me. I'm flying over in the airplane, just going over my script as you would do before any big talk. This girl asked me what it is. I says, it's a script. I'm giving a talk in Ottawa next week. One thing leads to another. I excuse myself and I take myself off to the bathroom. I have to wait. So I'm gone for about 10 minutes. When I return to my seat, she's taken my script. She's scored out some lines. She's replaced those lines with her own words. She's written little love hearts. She's written some question marks. She's completely critiqued my work. I thought, that's very nice. My jaw hit the floor. And I had to reprint it at Steve's house the other night. So I thought, now we've got a clean slate. I go back to the hotel lobby. I sit down. It's great. I've got a nice fresh piece. This guy sits down at the burger, shakes my hand, and tips his coffee right over the script. I watch it melt in front of my eyes. I thought, you know what? Life doesn't intend me to work from that original old script layer, because I'm going to keep that as a story in there. Don't you agree? So that's what happened to my script, and I learned from that day, you tell a much better story when you can just relax and flow, and don't put that added pressure on yourself of trying to memorize a script, because that strips you of all your confidence. So the quicker you can move towards images, the easier it's going to be on your brain. But you know, you also trust that the words will come, and that comes with experience as well. Patricia Fripp, the international speaking coach, she always says, how would you tell a story at the dinner table? And that's very important. So what I would say is prepare often and present often. My first international speaking gig was in Budapest, Hungary. Now, in my mind, I thought I was attending a big conference, and I had this image in my head of this big room, 100 people, so I prepared that way. I was nervous, but I prepared. I spent months preparing, 2 or 3 months. When I got there were only about a dozen people present. It was a new company who was starting up their presentations. But I had prepared well. So prepare often and present often, but prepare as if to give your very, very best. So if you're speaking to one person, 10 people, or 100 people, prepare the same for one person or 10 as you would for 100. And that way you always give your very best. Preparation focus. This is what I call entering your speaker flow, which is very similar to the flow that we talk about in sports psychology. The tools I use are visualization, which is ultimately distraction control. The greatest distractions will come both internally and externally. And when learning to control them, and there are very specific mental skills that you can use to do that, that's really going to boost your confidence levels. But ultimately, it's about developing deep levels of self-awareness. And when you have confidence in your preparation and knowing your topic, your passion is going to shine through. One piece of advice that I would give to you: know your opening and closing off by heart. That way, that is going to give you a great confidence booster as you step onto the stage and you enter. After your opening, you go into the body of your speech. And when you finish the body of your speech, you know you're closing so well, it's going to be very impactful. Managing your emotions and performance anxiety. Now, there are lots of things out there in social media, there are lots of posts out there in social media that tell us how to conquer our nerves, how to not be nervous. I want to be nervous. That nerves are a vital part of good performance. The key is to accept that strong emotions are part of your experience. A degree of nerves are necessary to assist your performance. That's an absolute fact. Those people who perform really well have been keyed up, but the key is in knowing how to reduce your anxiety when it becomes strong. And that's without losing your focus, it's without losing your calmness. It's about emotional control. And don't live in past reference of what's happened in speeches before. Prepare for the talk that you have coming up. Don't live on what happened in the past. Be forward thinking all the time. This is my performance ready speaker pyramid. Now, this is an adaptation of sports performance, and this is what I've used to develop my own skills. Now, level 1, which includes attitude, commitment, and motivation, speaking and presentation skills, and people skills, very, very important. These are daily basis skill sets, but these are skill sets that you will take into level 2 and level 3. As you go to level 2, you'll learn to use mental imagery. Great performers have great imaging skills. That's a fact. But you also learn the value of self-talk, of that inner dialogue that you control and tell. That's extremely important, and that's a skill set that I use every single day. And the other skill set, level 3, is about during performance. It's about managing anxiety when you feel it starts. It's about managing how you feel, harnessing the right emotions, and it's about focusing on the job at hand, the message that you're going to deliver for your audience. In closing, I would like to leave you with a poem. Come to the edge, he said. But we are afraid. said they. Come to the edge. They came. He pushed them, and they flew. Be a forward thinker. Be a sponge. Soak in everything and grow and be proud of the level that you're at. But invest in your skills every day. Take a chance on yourself. Grasp every opportunity you can to get up there and present. And you will be astounded at what you can do if you choose to ignore your limiting and false beliefs and you go to the edge and fly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maxwell. And it was, yeah, it was so good. We enjoyed a lot, Aisha.
Thank you, Nasheed.
Thank you so much. I want to quickly share with a couple of things that I could remember. I can't remember all of the things though. And we also have a lot of participants join, like almost 15 participants still joining. I'm randomly checking. Chanda Sharma, he joined probably from India, and we have got Hashmir joined from Bangladesh. Shamim Sabrin Farki, she is a active political activist in Australia. She joined us as well from here in Sydney.
Wow.
She's from Bangladesh, and I can also see Shamim, Kazi Nazmun Nahar. We already have a couple of good number of people, and Vavani obviously are our very own professional speaking associations president in Malaysia, and she has been always inspiring us. So a couple of things I would like to share with all of you, and to me it's eye-opening, and I will say I love the way Maxwell included like the emotional part with the presentation, because we see sometimes we see presentation as a logical thing to do, like we have to complete the slides, we have to touch with the concept, these are the content we'll be delivering, but there are a lot of things we have to deal with in terms of our emotion, our feelings, and the back end, the limiting belief works a lot to drag this feeling back. And in the front end, we are very much fearful to face the feeling that we may have by doing something different. So I love the way you are saying that, yeah, our brain can remember mostly with looking at the images, and it's very true. It's very true. If you write a lot, it will not be in your brain. Like it's hard. And if you just write a picture that this is the way I'll be having a journey of my whole session, then it becomes a fun to go through the journey once we are presenting. And at the end, I will say, obviously, the push is very important, and it's the place once we are just standing on the edge is the longest time we can stay there, or we can take a small step from there to start flying. So yeah, that's the difference that we can make, and amazingly powerful message. And Chanda Sharma, you joined us from India. Would you like to unmute yourself and give us a little bit of insight that you could share with us today?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Hi, this is Chanda Sharma from India. I hope you can hear me. Aisha, just help me to say yes.
Yes, obviously we can hear you.
Okay.
Here you go.
Maxwell, I mean, I think just wrote also, you were simply brilliant. I mean, this is, I think for aspiring speakers, I think this is really the content which is required. And thank you so much for doing it so well. In such a short time, you could give out so much. If I show you really, I mean, I'm in the bad habit of writing, and all those notes is what I've just taken from. So I think that's a lesson from rest of you at Bangladesh. All my friends, always when people speak, make sure you're writing things which really hit you, and you can always retain. You know, your subconscious mind, it can retain a lot of things when you start writing them. Again, reiterating some of my very strong beliefs, Maxwell. Doodling is something which I've always done, which means drawing pictures and actually putting your speech there. So when you put your speech there on the wall, it really, really hits you and takes you to your subconscious mind. A great way to remember your first and the closing words as well. I have a whole lot of list, ask me really. But you know, all of those strong messages of the stagecraft there, the motion releases tension, beautifully said. Know your opening and closing by heart, beautiful there. And of course, your performance anxiety and all of those. So I think I'd like to really thank you for this wonderful speech that you put together. And I'm sure people at Bangladesh and the entire community is going to really benefit a lot. I have a very strong message to take back to my fellow friends at PSAI in India, that here is a wonderful initiative which our fellow friends at Bangladesh have taken. And thank you, Maxwell, you really made my afternoon today. I mean, for India, we are in afternoon just now. So thank you so much for making my day. Great learnings. And thank you, Aisha, and thank you, Nashid, for having me over. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thanks
so
a lot.
much.
Thank you very much. That's
Yes.
very kind, and that makes me very happy. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I will also request Ms. Sabreen Farooqui to add her few comments on the presentation. If you'd please like to add some comments on your insight and what you'd like to suggest on the top of it, because we know you as one of the voice in the area of, especially for helping for the migrant people's rights in here. And I would like to know a little bit about you and how do you present and position your voice on the space. If Sabreen Farooqui, if you are present. We also have Martuza, and Martuza is our young speaker from Bangladesh and holding a very good position in Toastmasters speaking sessions. So Martuza, can you add something in here? So what's your insight and what do you like to take away from the session? And then I'll be coming back to Sabreen Farooqui.
Sure. Excuse me. Sorry about that, Maxwell. Fellow Toastmaster here. Good to have you here. So I really enjoyed your session. There's a couple of takeaways that I can take. Well, the highlight for me was, the evolution of a speaker, a level 1, level 2, level 3. Like how you said that, actors and actresses, they have level 1, level 2, level 3. And level 1 is more internal. You're more focused on yourself, how you're thinking. Maybe you're not doing so well. How am I going to look to the others? And it's more of a worried state. And level 2 is different. You start going more external. You go outside more. And lastly, the final state is like the peak state. So that was one of the highlights for me. The other things that I liked with regards to what you said is know your topic and drill deep down. I think that's really important. I think whatever it is that we're going to talk about, know it from top to bottom. That builds confidence. I mean, and the more we rehearse it, the more we can actually integrate those things within us. I think I really like that. And yeah, find your own story and start recording your own story. I mean, each and every one of us has a story. Sure, Maxwell, you shared our story, like what happened in Canada, like how you responded to that. So I like that. I really like that. And just basically rehearse, practice, and find your voice. So, and I'd like to thank you, Maxwell, for your time.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. That's very kind.
Yeah.
Very good one. I love the level 1, 2, 3 as well, and I can literally feel the difference once you reach from one level to another level and the impact that we can create by reaching the different levels. Amazing. So I want to listen from Sabreen Farooqui. If you could unmute yourself and share some of your insight and a little bit of secret of your voice to help people to get there right.
Okay, can you hear me, Aisha?
Yeah, all good. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Hi, everyone. Well, I didn't expect that I'll talk here, but thanks for giving me the chance. Yeah, so people, I think you guys don't know me. I I am in Sydney, and yeah, I work for migrant and refugee community as a volunteer. I work for the government, for the federal government, but that's my voluntary role. I work passionately for refugees and migrants to get their rights. Um, I found it interesting. I know Aisha for a while, and I found the topic interesting because the reason is it is very much needed for everyone, especially people who are planning to get a job and basically planning to go ahead. And I deal with people who are new to Australia. They look for job, and they lack confidence in talking. And I was in the same position, and I came a long way. I have, well, still learning, but the thing is, it is absolutely important to learn how to talk, and also developing the confidence. Maxwell, one point I really loved what you said is about memorizing. Some people try to do it. I think initially when we start talking, we try to memorize, and because we are not confident, but it actually it can upset the whole thing. So it is important that we, and Aisha also mentioned that we have the mental map. That is the main thing when we talk. So yeah, I really liked what you say, and I'm looking forward to listening to other people, other speakers. And a very important topic. I hope there will be more sessions like that because it is important for people to move ahead in life and to feel confident. When they talk like in a confident way, they feel confident, and definitely that helps them to go ahead in life.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
adding those points. And we also have Kazi Nazmun Nahar, Raymond Xavier, and Hashmir Hassan Rashan. And so would you like to add something into this conversation, or do you have any question to learn a little bit more? And also Abdullah Yusuf, you also joined us. So if the floor is open, would you mind to unmute yourself and ask your question or insight that you have?
Hi everybody, this is Yusuf Zai, and I'm delighted to join you guys for the first time. I got disconnected, and this is the first time I didn't understand what it was all about. And anyway, basically I didn't listen to you, I just joined. But as the topic says that,
The speaking and the confidence.
Clear, clear communication is everything. I have been to two, multinational giants. I spent there 20 long years with HSBC and Standard Chartered. And I can, tell you that clear communications and communications with confidence is the key to get your work done, to maintain healthy relationship with your customers and clients, and basically, as I understand, communications has to be, well prepared. Before one wants to communicate it, he or she has to be well prepared. And, and the topic one is interested in communicating should be very close to his or her heart. And, and he or she should be mentally prepared, which I'm not today. And I haven't heard any of you. So, I just wanted to express my apology. Basically, another participants, Farin Roman, she was very much interested in joining you guys, but she's preoccupied with his, work from home. Maybe next time. But in a nutshell, I would emphasize that one needs to be well prepared and confident and mentally balanced, And, I can share one story, which is, may not be very relevant to today's topic, but maybe it would be very useful, I was a great professional, I was getting along well. I got promoted in time and everything was fine. But, after crossing 40, I have been a sportsman, but I lost focus on my health. And as a result, I got used to sedentary lifestyle, right? And I got used to very relaxed life. I would go to office every day and come back home, then watch TV and have my dinner. That was the life I was getting used to. As a result, I lost my health. My health deteriorated because of the lack of focus, and I wasn't using my brain properly. I was getting tensed, and basically I wasn't prioritizing, when using my brain, and I lost my fitness. In my life, in my professional life, and I'm around 50. So I think the most important asset in anybody's life, if she wants to be a communicator or whatever he wants to be, one has to be physically and mentally fit. Otherwise, he or she is going to achieve nothing. And, there is a very high and positive correlation between mental and physical health. Maybe if you are working very hard, working out and, you're on healthy diet, but if you're not taking care of your brain, and if you're not calm, if you're not, composed during the trying circumstances, then you're not going to achieve what you are aiming for. So when, I've been sick for 3 years now, and I was exposed to basically wrong medications by some local doctors. Then I have to fly to Singapore several times. And, now I realize that the most important thing in my life, is my health, my fitness. And during this quarantined life, and, it's a very challenging circumstances. We have to be on healthy diet. We have to be working out, and we have to prioritize our, our mental capacity, and we have to remain calm.
Abdullah Yusufzai. So yeah, I love the two things I want to share. The one is you mentioned about the client, and the whole thing, the whole presentation. I totally believe, and I'm sure Maxwell will also agree with me, that we can't really think about speaking on the stage. We can also think about having a conversation with a client, understanding the emotional state, understanding my state on that moment is very important. My emotion, my mental state, my alignment, mental alignment, the readiness, what exactly I want to get out of the conversation. So this is what I love about you, that you mentioned about the client, and meaningful once we really to presentation.
Aisha, just to add to your point, sorry to interrupt you, but just to add to your point, understanding your client requires a lot of common sense, empathy. You have to wear the shoe worn by the client. It doesn't only apply to the client. I would say it applies to your family member, to your friends, to your spouse, everybody. Emotional intelligence is the key to achieving better relationship with your clients, your colleagues, and everybody, right?
True.
And one has to be mentally balanced and physically fit. I would like to add that.
Yeah,
sorry,
your combination, right? Yes.
And this is the right time to get us reminded that this is the right time. We have to get this alignment back for our long-lasting performance, for sustainability in the workplace performance, because we are human at the end. We have got Farhana Rupam joined from, she's also our member in our PSAB, and she's also our treasurer here. So as I would like to hear from her a little bit in relate to her workplace, because we know her, like she's very struggling women and working from remote for quite a long time and traveling back and forth, and she's managing her life. And how do you relate in terms of having the conversation with the clients and understanding the emotion of the client and having your emotional control once you do this?
Okay, thank you so much. I just disconnect for some times because of network issue. But thank you so much, Max and Aisha and Nasid Bhai also and others. So I want to share one thing only. Intellectual gratuity is the different thing. We all have own intellectual in our head or something like that. But when we want to share our thoughts to others, it's very important to hear others' thoughts also. So sometimes we forget others' by audience's view, and I think when we want to speak or when we want to argue or when we want to deal with something new, so we need to know the indigenous knowledge, actually the people's perspective, which is very important. That's it from my end. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Farhana. So is there anyone who'd like to share some insight with the conversation, because we are almost running over the time, so we may stay here for 2 to 3 more minutes to wrap up for the session. And if there's anyone who'd like to share their insight, you're welcome. And let me hand over to
Aisha, I would like to make another point. Remaining calm under trying circumstances is one of the greatest achievement one could acquire through practice and practice and practice. In the corporate life, I don't know, maybe there are corporate people logged in here today. One has to learn to juggle multiple issues at the same time. That is one of the key goals. And while doing that, one has to remain very composed, very calm. And in order to master this art, you need to master your mental health. You need to understand how to manage your brain well. That is very important. And I would like to thank all the trainers and participants. Thank you very much. Maybe next time we'll have thorough conversation and full length Zoom conversation. I look forward to that. Thank you very much.
More frequent sessions from now on, and we are committed to do this. So we'll bring more conversation, and we'll try to help from our spaces as much as possible. So I want to Rashid for
I would like to add something for Yusufzai Bhai, right? Because being in the corporates for a long time, we were having the same problem. I guess if Aisha can correct me, or Maxwell, like when we cross 40, the things happen. Things started to change, and then realized that, wow, 16 years, 18 years working with corporates, because I feel the same. I left my corporate life back in 2016, and because the job was very monotonous, and at that time I realized that we need to do something on. We need to go out of the box and working with the other side of the stories, because we were always, I was telling to the people, like 16 years of corporate life or 18 years of corporate life, I was selling ice creams. You know what selling ice cream is? Like keeping everyone happy, because I was not happy because I was doing my own job. And now I was selling ice cream for my own, right? Keeping others happy, because I was following my passion. Starting my own startup, all right, or looking out of the box and talking to the customers learning emotional intelligence, because I started reading the books Emotional Intelligence, because it's very
Excellent.
important to know a customer's stuff and customers' attitude as well. Because I was very blessed to have Egyptian boss, almost 8 years, and you know that Egyptians, Arabs getting angry a lot of time, and we need to know the emotional intelligence, how to make balance on it. So I guess follow the passion, and to follow the passions, we are doing a lot of exciting webinar coming soon. Yeah, me and Aisha and the rest of the team is coming soon, talking to the world experts like Maxwell, Bhavani, and others. And definitely from this panels or participants, we can have the next speakers on board. So as a closing notes, thanks a lot.
Before
Thanks a lot.
note, I have got
Can I
Raymond.
leave with one?
Oh,
Can I leave you with one quick point?
yeah.
Thank you,
Right.
Nasir.
I'm sorry for that. I jumped into conclusions, right? Apologies.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, Maxwell, we're waiting for you.
Oh, okay. It was just to leave you with one quick point, and what confidence is doing, because it is everything. It makes you realize in the end that your greatest asset is you.
Yeah.
Everything can fall apart around you. I was giving a keynote in Norway a few years ago. I was 10 minutes into my keynote and all the power failed. My laptop failed, everything crashed, and it was a very good learning curve for me that no matter what can go wrong, if you are prepared emotionally and you know your content, you can still deliver, you can still perform. So not things will go wrong in life, in your speaking career. Not everything will go to plan, but you will still be there. And if you prepare that way, that no matter what goes wrong, I've got this, it will serve you well.
Excellent. Thank you. Raymond,
Maxwell, can I add one point? Thanks. Very well said. Hello. Maxwell, I would like to ask one question to you. Basically, this is regarding speaking with confidence, Maxwell. I have one particular, it is though subjective judgment though. What I feel is, if I don't like the topic or if I don't believe in that, I can't speak from my heart. I can't lie. That is one of my limitations. If I am to speak fluently and with confidence, I have to believe in the topic I am speaking on, and I have to like that. Otherwise, I can't speak.
Absolutely.
If you have no belief in your topic, it's impossible to bring passion to what you're speaking about. So a speaker must completely believe in what they speak about. It must come from the heart. It can't come from the head.
Thank you so much.
Wanted to say thank you, Raymond. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you well.
Thanks for joining. And you're joining from which location? Can you tell me?
I'm from the Philippines.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for organizing this activity.
You're welcome. So for Nasheed, I think we can close now again. So can you formally close the session? And thank you so much for me to all.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay.
Take care of your health and stay safe.
Thank you, Maxwell. Thank you, Ashapu.
Thank you, Maxwell.
Thank you, Nasheed bhai.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Virtual handshake. Right. You're right.